Looks like we are now live. Get this logged in here. Alright. So, today while I'm processing inventory and everything, I actually haven't even had breakfast yet. I'm seeing a lot of ups and downs about some of the upcoming products that Wizards is releasing as far as Magic the Gathering, the new Brothers War set that's coming out in November. So I wanted to just take a moment, make a quick video just to kind of give my position on things. As a store owner who sells Magic, I do own a few shares of Hasbro stock. Nothing to really brag about. I enjoy the game, I collect it, I invest in it. So just as a small game store owner, a fan of the storylines, the art, the artists, the company as a whole, as an investor, collector, and player, there's a few things that I've seen, and there's a few things that I'm starting to notice are trends. And we're going to kind of break it down into a few sections. The first section is going to be a call and response between the overall market and Wizards of the Coast when it comes to Magic. The second is going to be a call and response to new releases, just the kind of call and response nature between new releases and social media influencers. And then the third is going to be a call and response on the effects of influencers and essential market fluctuations beyond just the games themselves. So, for first up, Brothers War, let's see, what are we looking at? With Brothers War, there has been a lot of things that a lot of people have asked of Wizards over the years, whether you're a collector, whether you're an investor, whether you're a player, whether you enjoy the lore, whether you are a game store owner, regardless of what your position is in Magic. There's been a lot of requests over the years, and Wizards has done a lot of really weird stuff over like the past 3 to 5 years. I've criticized some of the things that they were doing, but now it appears that a lot of the weird, wonky things that they've done over the past 5 years have been to test the call and response of a lot of common things that they've heard. So let's break down just some of the things that have been call and response to Wizards about Magic between players, investors, collectors, and sellers, and how they've handled it, and how it kind of, what you see as far as things that already exist. So a lot of people really enjoy the old school lore. There really wasn't as widely available lore and story-wise information as there is today when new sets drop. So Brothers War is going to kind of give us a flashback into some of the origins of Wizards. So a lot of people that have asked for more information, more lore and stuff like that, people that just enjoy the storyline and enjoy things around Urza and Mishra, Wizards is kind of giving them a flashback set where, flashback, not the mechanic, but just kind of a flashback in terms of going back, looking at old lore, kind of revitalizing and extrapolating on it. So that way you get, all of your lore tinglies kind of taken care of. Lore tinglies. Okay. It's really good to have a multi-product tie-in. The reason is because you want more than just something that's playable. You want something that is media intrinsic as well. You see this, or you saw this a lot with 1980s, 1990s era. There was always a TV show that went with action figures, or a TV show that went with a game. So with Magic, it's more in the lore and the stories. So them being able to do this is going to allow them the opportunity to be able to do stories with this lore again, and extrapolate on it a little bit further. So you have some media intrinsic playability, and it kind of ties in multiple different mediums. So that's something that some people have asked for. Some people have been really interested in because they've wanted to learn more about Urza. They've wanted to learn more about Mishra, what all happened, not just kind of vague conscriptions of, the events. So it is, kind of near their 30-year anniversary for Magic. So expanding on that, it's a good call and response. They've had plenty of time to develop the realms. They've tested out a lot of possibilities of revisiting Dominaria. They've tested out the possibility of bringing a lot of older characters back. And I think that through all of that testing, they found that doing a flashback set would kind of satiate and really revitalize the older players, as well as bring the newer players into the mix so they understand where Magic came from. Another call and response was one that we've seen, and even if you're not a big collector of Magic, you've probably seen the effects throughout the pandemic whenever people had some extra money to invest in things, or when people had extra time, or when people had to find alternative means to be able to generate revenue. A lot of people went after Pokemon cards. There was the huge Pokemon hype. It got so bad that people were brawling in the parking lots in some places, and some big box stores refused to even carry Pokemon. Between the big box stores kind of locking down on carrying Pokemon, and with Pokemon as a company reprinting and upping their print runs after a time, that kind of dawdled a lot of that down. So a lot of the retail arbitrage entrepreneurs, resellers, flippers, whatever you want to call them, they moved to things like sports cards once they felt that Pokemon had kind of dried up. The reason that they moved to sports cards is because there's things like serialized cards, there's signed autograph cards, and things of that nature. For years, investors and collectors have been asking for Wizards to either A, abolish the reserve list, or B, expand upon it. But in that situation, you have to be careful. If you abolish it, then the secondary market winds up plummeting because there's no stopping some of these ultra rare cards from being reprinted. However, if you expand it, what's to stop them from adding a new piece every set, and then the reserve list ultimately kind of loses its validity? So they tested out with one previous secret layer. It was a Phyrexian themed one that actually had serialized cards in it. I think the most recent sell of one of those serialized cards went for about $4K. And so Wizards has announced with the new Brothers War set, not only are we getting that kind of flashback to be able to play with some older mechanics like Meld, which is another call and response. People really like that mechanic, and so they're bringing it back. They're also introducing serialized cards in the Brothers War set. Serialized cards are going to bring a lot of people into Magic. There's going to be a lot of resellers because, as always, every time there is a spike in sports cards, for whatever reason, it's almost like Magic pinpoints what has spiked sports cards, and they hit it. In the early 90s, when Magic came out, sports cards tanked because from that point, you could actually play with your cards. You didn't just have to collect them. Yeah, it was Black Lotuses and Shivan Dragons versus, Jerry Rice and Steve Young. But the fact of the matter is, sports cards are no longer the only collectibles that are serialized. Starting with Brothers War, there's going to be some serialized cards. So a lot of people have called for an expand on the reserve list, and Brothers War is kind of responding to that call by introducing serialized cards. We're going to have a lot of people get into Magic because of Brothers War and move away, maybe, from sports and Pokemon. So there's about to be an influx of probably online resellers, flippers, retail arbitrage entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them, because of Brothers War doing that call and response to serialized cards. Another thing that I mentioned, the meld mechanic. People really enjoyed the older mechanics that didn't really get introduced or utilized in a lot of different sets. So that one is coming back as a call and response. We've talked about the lore. We've talked about serialized cards. We've talked about mechanics. A lot of people, older players, or even some newer players, look at the older border cards and really like to chase after that kind of art style. And Wizards has kind of acknowledged that, and they're paying homage back to the older play style. The two commander decks in Brothers War are going to be in that retro border frame style. So they're going to look like the older, alpha, beta border cards. the artwork, of course, will most likely be your newer art renditions, but the borders will be that retro border. And then you can also pull them from, I believe, set and collector's boosters. Speaking of artwork, there was another call and response in terms of that, because this is a set that is heavily themed about Urza and Mishra. There's going to be a lot of inference on artificers and artifacts and things of that nature. So there is alternate art versions of the cards that are made to look like blueprints, almost kind of a Da Vinci type blueprint type thing. So if you're an alternate art collector, there was a call and response to that. Wizards has responded to almost everything that collectors, resellers, flippers, players could ask for, because the power level of this set looks like it's going to be astronomical as well. So new players wanting to get in and find staples for Modern, staples for Commander, a great new injection to the standard format. It looks like the power level is heightened so much that there's something in this set for every format of play. So not only are there these heavily sought after chase cards going to be in it, it's also going to have a great power level. The art's going to be great. It's an expanding on older lore, and it's more readily available, so people can actually enjoy it more. Ikoria was one of the first times we saw kind of a seeded set inside of a set, where we had the Godzilla cards. But the one complaint that I saw the most was that the Godzilla cards should have been their own unique cards, because since we had Secret Lair cards that were introducing these new unique mechanics, like the Stranger Things set, there was a lot of people saying, why didn't they just do that with the Godzilla cards and make unique cards, because then they would be worth so much more and they would be so much more collectible. So with Brothers War, they're responding to that too, and they're throwing that at it. So there's going to be a seeded subset inside of Brothers War, which I'm not sure if you can pull it from draft packs. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in set and collector's boosters, but I may be wrong. They may be in draft packs. I'd have to double check. But it's Transformers, Optimus Prime, Megatron, Starscream. Well, we haven't seen Megatron, but we've seen Optimus Prime, we've seen Goldbug, we've seen Starscream, and a couple others, and they are their own unique cards. Because they're Transformers, a lot of them are flip cards. So there is not only serialized collectibles inside of this set, there is a seeded subset of cards that are their own unique cards with their own unique mechanics. And so for the nostalgic people that always wanted like a Transformers game, or just like to collect Transformers, this is pulling in another market into Magic. So again, Wizards has listened to what worked and threw away what didn't, found the right way to balance it to give people what they're asking for. Also, in a artificer artifact themed set, the idea of being able to build a commander deck with Urza, Optimus Prime, and all 5-color Gearhulks is astounding. From an artifact player, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be all over the place. So there's a lot of really great things in it. That I believe that since they're kind of nearing up on that 30-year anniversary, they're pulling out all the stops. They're doing a great response to call and response to address issues for the collectors, to address issues for the resellers, to address issues for the players, to address issues for the art collectors, the lore enjoyers, whatever your aspect is in Magic or trading cards as a whole. Wizards has found some way to appeal to that market and that demographic with this one set. So this has the chance to be probably one of the best sets they've ever released, in my opinion. And now, from a call and response standpoint, as a store owner, one of the big things that we always had to contend with was big box stores, Amazon, Walmart, Target. Whenever we would have pre-release, we would have to essentially compete with some of these. In a lot of areas, for those of you who don't know, these storefronts, these big box, big channels, don't always control when product is put out. A lot of the time they lease shelf space, and the companies that will, purchase that shelf space from them, we'll just go in and just set product on the shelves, and a lot of time the employees don't pay attention to what they're putting out. And sometimes, as as early as like a week or 2 weeks before launch, product can wind up on shelves at big box stores when your game store hasn't even had pre-release yet. And so one of the biggest things that we've asked for is, could you crack down on this type of behavior? That pulls into a Wizards and Hasbro's thing, because Hasbro is the one licensing that product and selling that product out to the big boxes, where Wizards is kind of handling us smaller stores. And so Wizards introduced a new thing as a call and response to us, saying that they're going to try to stay firm to release dates as far as non-WPN stores. So Amazon, Walmart, Target, all these marketplaces, they're going to try to stick hard to release date for all non-WPN stores. Those of us who are officially licensed WPN stores that actually support our players, we try to create a nice welcoming event space. They are going to allow us at the when we open on the Friday of pre-release weekend, from that point until release, or from that point on, we can sell any and all product for that set. So Brothers War used to be WPN stores. We could only do pre-release kits and sealed boxes, certain sealed boxes, bundles, other boxes, other products, decks, things of that nature. Sometimes would have to wait until launch. There was one period where we could sell certain things just on that weekend, and then we had to put it behind the counter for the week until launch. So all of those weird kind of rules that we had to kind of help us exist in the economic environment, Wizards has said, hey, look, you guys are already getting product for pre-release. You guys are having a hard time competing with the big brands and big name stores, because a lot of times you have some people that just come in and release stuff earlier than they should. And while we're going to try to investigate and take care of that, go ahead and sell everything starting at pre-release. So a great call and response to store owners. I'm super happy about that, because that means that we could take full open pre-orders leading up to the week of pre-release, and then on pre-release weekend we can sell everything. We don't have to keep certain things behind the counter. We don't have to turn people away and say, I'm sorry, you can't get this here, just for them to go to a big box store and find it already out on the shelf. So a great call and response to help us out. So as far as collectors, store owners, players, everything like that, Wizards has done a great call and response. The two other aspects that I want to look at kind of meld into one. And it more just all boils down to a call and response and the action. I don't know so much about a call and response, but just the actions or the effects and counter effects of influencers and new product releases, as well as influencers and the stock market as a whole. For those of you who are not aware, our stock market is essentially in a recession. Don't take me for financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I don't know jack about, major market movements or anything like that. I just see what I see, and I see how things are affected by the words of a few select individuals. Now, anytime a new product is released for Magic, there's always 2 or 3 big name people, whether it be on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, who come out early on and start just, when spoilers start hitting, they just start downplaying, talking down about the sets, talking down about this. Don't buy boxes. Don't buy commander decks. Don't buy packs. Don't buy this. Don't do this. Buy this instead. Don't do this. And 9 times out of 10, their recommendations are going to be for older sets that they've talked back. And it's a pattern that I see with influencers. They will talk down about a new release. On release weekend, they will accumulate as much as they possibly can. Usually, some of these people have ties to stores. Some influencers have their own channels directly to distributors. Some of these influencers will negatively speak about a product. That will drive product confidence down. That will also drive product demand down, which leads a lot of stores to be backlogged, which keeps us from ordering from distros, which causes a lot of distributors to be backlogged. Once the backlog hits distribution, that's when distribution starts to offer, large sale incentives, such as, we might not make each individual booster box cheaper, but if you order a pallet or more, we can substantially cut the cost because we are that backlogged. A lot of these influencers I've noticed have ties to stores, or they have their own stores, or they have some sort of distribution connection. And it's almost like a trend that I'll see where they will have all of these early release videos of negative talk of a product, skepticism of a product. When the product gets backlogged, and whenever I first see emails rolling out for, a special sale of this product, then all of a sudden they start making different YouTube videos. Holy crap, I was wrong. Holy crap, this set is really just taken off. It surprised me. It's amazing. It's a great, the power level just wasn't tested enough. But essentially what it is, it's market manipulation. In short, in asset, in this market, it's collectibles market manipulation, in my opinion. Now, granted, I'm not a financial advisor, but that's just what it looks like to me, because I'll see all this injection of product skepticism. I see the channels, the distribution channels, start to try to sell because they are backlogged. Then suddenly, a lot of the product will move from the distribution level because we'll get emails, hey, this sold out within like a day. Then all of a sudden, this influencer or these influencers will suddenly have a massive influx of boxes available on their website, wherever that may be, or available at their store, or wherever that may be. And then all of a sudden the retraction videos start coming. All of a sudden the videos of them doing box openings. All of a sudden the videos of them, saying how great and how underestimated the product was, usually about 2 to 3 months down the line when the set has had a full meta test in the professional level play. Usually around that time, that's when people realize, the power level of this set's really good. This guy was just full of crap. So before everybody can kind of put 2 and 2 together that the influencers are negatively affecting prices, so that way they can net money on the back end whenever they ultimately buy the boxes at a deflated rate and then turn around and sell them at market, because they drove the prices down by creating a backlog at distribution by affecting demand. Well, whenever people start realizing, there's actually good stuff in this set, that's when the retraction videos start coming, and that's when they all of a sudden happen to either have a sponsor that is selling the boxes at market, or they are selling the boxes themselves at either a market or some sort of membership price to offer some sort of discount, which even with the discount, they still net more than they paid. So that's been a thing for a while. It's been a thing for about 5 or 6 years. A lot of people are starting to pick up on it, and a lot of people are starting to kind of notice the trend. A lot of stores are also shifting their pricing modules and shifting their offerings in a more competitive way to kind of counteract and deal with that type of manipulation. The third aspect that kind of ties into that is because we have seen that type of behavior for about 5 years or so when it comes to collectible products. Some of these people are actually buying they're using their profit to not just restock, but to buy large positions in companies like Hasbro. Hasbro is the owner of Wizards. Hasbro is the company that is over all of that. And so, if you think about it, our markets, just like new product releases, are affected by skepticism. So if you have a large enough pool of influence, and you can create skepticism for a particular product release, there's a high chance that that product release could go flat. They could wind up making lower profit margins because the distributors sell at a lower price point. Sometimes if you have a direct line to Hasbro and you're ordering direct through them, if you can negotiate a lower price point with them because you as an influencer have negatively affected the demand for the product, then essentially Hasbro's earnings for that quarter ultimately gets affected. Could potentially be affected for that quarter. And whenever it comes time for quarterly reports to be announced on, any type of stock or trading platform, it could look like the company is just hemorrhaging money or losing profits. These people, these same influencers, could then implement that same strategy of affect demand, affect profit margin, affect
market confidence and then swoop in once the stock prices have dropped down because the confidence is so low, because the demand is low, causing the profit margins to drop. And then they swing in, swoop up a large position of stock, and then turn around and do a retraction. Oh, this product is great. This product is amazing. Well, then, boom, an injection happens. It takes off. People think, oh, well, at least they have the integrity to admit when they were wrong. It's not a matter of integrity. It's not a matter of admitting when they were wrong. It's the fact that that is the playbook. Sow skepticism, create a backlog, buy at a deflated value, affect the price of everything on the back end, and then turn around and create a retraction so that way people will think that the product is greater than you initially led them to believe, and then make even more profit than you normally would. So that's pretty much everything to be looking out for. I don't fully know exactly what the state of the market's going to be with the amount of potential. I'm trying to use my words carefully. The amount of potential market manipulation that's out there, but I do know as far as Brothers War is concerned, it has the possibility to be a phenomenal set, regardless of market standards, because they have done an excellent call and response of listening to every one of their WPN partners. They've done a great job of listening to collectors, to lore fans, to art fans, and to players as a whole across every format. So, as a person on social media, I'm telling you, take social media influence worth a grain of salt. I feel like this is going to be a great product. If you love any of these things, don't let an influencer drive you away just so they can make an extra few bucks on the back end. If you want to have fun with this, you only live once. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun. I'm going to buy heavy into it because I think it's a great set. One, I want all of the cards. I want all of the Transformer cards. I want to collect the entire thing. Two, as an investor, I want to get a couple serialized cards because I can't wait to see how much they're going to be worth. And three, I think that whatever I have left over will very easily sell because I believe that this is probably one of the greatest products that Magic has ever put out. So, be that as it is almost 10 o'clock. Finally about to go and get some breakfast and see about trying to work on the listing issue that we had yesterday with TCG Player after we've had a meeting with them. So as far as Magic, I look forward to seeing everybody whenever it comes time to pre-order Brothers War. Remember, we do have memberships available on our website where you can get product for 10-20% off. We do have a few of the enterprise levels available still where you can get product at 10% above, just 10% above cost. So if you're looking for any of that, feel free to message me. I can extrapolate on it further. And yeah, we'll see you next time.